going on, everybody? Back with another video. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Today I'll be talking about the Microtech Makora II blue hardware version. Now, if you guys have been following my channel, you know that Jeff and I did a review on the standard Makora II already, but this one's so much different. Well, not so much different, but a little bit different, and it's also really a beautiful knife from Microtech that I thought maybe I showed off. But primarily, I'm going to be talking about touching upon some gripes I have about Microtech, also going over the dual action out the front mechanism as well as the derailing system. So first off, you can tell it's a rather long knife. I have these size comparisons up here, basically right at the tip of the glass breaker. And let's go and take these away. I'll show you some macros of this knife. We'll start off with the handle here. As you can tell, it's got the beautiful blue anodized hardware. Here it is right next to the standard version with the bead blast hardware. Both these use the raised tri-wing screws. So if you actually just set this side on the table, it actually the carbon fiber would never touch the table really. And the carbon fiber is under this really glassy, glossy covering here. Very beautiful, very 3D-ish, And as we travel to the back here, you can see the ultra blue titanium glass breaker on here. And here it is next to the standard bead blast version. Even the, now this glass breaker includes a ball bearing that's encased inside the breaker itself. Until this is like a polished ball bearing, whereas this has a blacked out ball bearing, which is a very nice touch too. And the pocket clips are, different. Now on this one particular, since I have the black blade, they put a black pocket clip on here to match. It does say Microtech, has the Microtech logo on here, as well as the date, the words Makora, the Makora Ant, and also the serial number on here as well. Now it's kind of nice that they put this exceptional jimping on here because this aluminum is extremely smooth, actually, kind of slippery almost, so it's a good thing that they did that. And the jimping, as I said, is exceptional. It's very well jimped, very good, and is pretty much all over the knife here, including the firing button, which is very nicely stepped or terraced. And on this particular version, they decide to not black out the top portion of it. At first I thought, well, it looks kind of unfinished, but you know what? After I look at it a little bit, I kind of like this, where it kind of gives you a designation of where the button is, under low lighting. And here it is next to the standard version here. You see the difference. But again, both versions are very good, nicely terraced. Going to have a look at the blade here. So you can tell the blade says Makora II. This is a partially serrated on both sides, and it's a two-tone blade, and it uses the S35 VN steel. Now these blades come in very different configurations. All four finishes can either have a plain blade, this partially serrated, or a fully serrated on one side and plain on the other side. All right. While I'm on the subject, let's go and show you the other different blade finishes here. So here we have a bead blast finish. Very nice, kind of like a matte, matte finish, not very shiny at all. And we have the stonewash finish, which is a lot more shinier, but you can see it's a little bit more speckled. You can kind of see the stonewashing on there. And since I don't have a Makora II that actually has a satin finish, I do have an Ultratech that has a satin finish, so I'll put that next to it. As you can see, it's not really too different here. Just that this one has a little bit more of a stonewashing, and this one's just completely satin finish, plain. Not my favorite though. I'll tell you this: the stonewashing on the Microtechs are not my favorite finish. So I do like either the bead blast or the two-tone coated. So let's go and go over the dual action out the front mechanism really quick here. Now, first off, I want to say that there's two excellent videos on YouTube you guys can look up. One is done by a gentleman that goes by YouTube name of Cubixthe. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's spelled C-U-B-I-X-T-H-E. Now, he takes one of these apart right here, an Ultratech, and shows you the innards of it, which I have crudely drawn on the paper here. Now, remember, these are not accurate, by the way, but this is just a very simplified version of what's actually inside the knife. All right. There's another gentleman. If you look up, search for disassembly of Microtech Scarab, you'll pull up another gentleman who actually took apart the Scarab, and it's essentially exactly the same thing. For one, I'll tell you one thing, I'm not afraid to put my hand on the front of this, and this is the reason why. When the scarab is closed, when the dual action assembly is closed or open, the springs are never in tension. They're only under a little bit of tension, but they're not pushing or pulling on anything until you actually do this action right here. All right. So what happens is there's a carriage and a blade inside the knife. So which tells you why this blade is off center. You notice that there's a larger bit on this side than that side, because on this side they need to make room for the carriage. So here we go. Inside the knife, there's a blade, then there's a carriage. They sit on top of each other. On top of the carriage, there's a spring. All right, so right here. Now, there's a gate here, and there's a gate here, and this is the firing button. So what happens is when you move the firing button up like this, it moves the carriage up, but this part doesn't move. It basically elongates the spring and creates tension. Now, the spring is still connected to the blade. All right, so when you get to the very tip of it, it stops right here. Then you have to overpower this, and the blade shoots out. The reason being is that as soon as the carriage moves up enough, it'll open up this gate or knock the gate open, and thus the blade has nothing keeping it back, and it'll shoot the blade straight up right here. So as the carriage moves up, the spring attaches to the blade, and then the gate starts opening and shoots up. The reverse is exactly true. When you start to pull the button down, you'll feel it stop right here, and then you overpower that last bit, and it'll pop the blade down. So essentially it's exactly the opposite. When you pull it down, the carriage pulls down, it elongates the spring and knocks this gate out of the way that's holding the knife open, and thus the blade comes shooting down. So now that's the other thing too, is the entire blade is actually only held open by this tiny little pin right there. That little gate, that's all it's been held open with. So bear in mind that if you guys are thinking about taking these to hard usage or anything like that. All right, so this is my very simple explanation of the out the front. Again, look up those two videos if you guys want some more information. Now, the derailing system. The derailing system is very cool. So basically, if it hits anything hard, that overpowers it, because the gates and the springs are actually relatively weak, is what I've heard. So that's why it comes off the rails so easily. So if you actually accidentally deploy this into yourself, which I hope you guys don't, so I hope you guys are responsible when you're playing with out the front knives or using out the front knives. Basically, it just derails like this, and you will keep the damage, I'm hoping, to a minimum. So, but I mean, that's not really, I don't think it's really what it's used for, but maybe you deploy it into something hard, you don't want to damage the tip of it. So what you do is, if when you do derail it, just pull on it really hard, lock it back in, and it's good as new. All right, so let's go ahead and go over some quick gripes about Microtech knives that I have. All right, so let's go and start with this bead blast version. This is what I'm talking about the QC on Microtech knives. So look at the grind on this side where it stops. You see how it stops about maybe 1/4 of an inch to the very point there. Look at the back. Look how much lower that middle channel stops. And plus it's a little off center. It's a little bit off to the right. I mean, it's just crazy that you're paying this much for a knife and they can't even get the grind lines correct on there. And look at the relief edge. You see the middle channel? You see there's an extra little bit here? On this side, there's none. See that? This side? Right there. So again, you're paying this much for a knife, and the QC isn't even up to par. Same exact one with this too. Now, before I show you these knives, I want to show you really quickly the date on both of these. You notice that? They're both in April of 2011. So they're released in the same month, right? Check out how different the blades are on this one. So let's start with the front side here with the logo on it. Move that out of the way. So you notice how, first off, this middle channel is off center to the little flat point there. This one's a little bit different. You see the grind on this side. The relief edge on this side is a lot closer than this one, and this side's also thinner. You notice how this is more even. All right, so they did a good job on the two-tone blade. Now look at the difference on the back here. You notice how on this side the relief edge is a lot wider on both sides, especially this side. Look how much it bows out before it meets back up with this point, and this side's a lot thinner. Whereas on the two-tone, they got both sides about relatively the same, and it's actually this side, the channel is actually a little bit more centered with the a flat point up there. So again, guys, this is purely cosmetic, but still, for those of you who are thinking about buying Microtechs, just be aware that there are some issues about Microtech knives in my book. All right. I mean, personally, I don't really care. I mean, I could send it back if I was a perfectionist, but you know what? These are just cosmetic only, and it does not affect the performance of the knife. So I'm not really that hard up to have this stuff fixed or replace it. Plus, it takes a long time, and again, not that big of a deal to me. But just be aware if you guys are going to buy Microtech knives that this kind of stuff does happen. All right. So they are not really the perfect knives that a lot of you may think that these are. So, but aside from that, the button feels are also different as well. All three of these have different button feels, by the way. So first off, listen to this. Now listen to this one. Nothing. So I already know that this is the stonewash version because the button doesn't wiggle when it's closed, but when it's open. All right. Also, the button is stiffer on this one than the other two. These two are a lot easier to deploy button wise, firing button wise than the two-tone version. So and similarly, when I go to retract the knife, this one's a stiffer to retract, and this one's really stiff to retract. In fact, I can't even do it. There you go. So again, 3 knives, and these two were made in the same month. And the button feels different, even though they're supposed to have the exact same parts in there, I'm assuming, So there you go. That's how much different each Microtech can differ from each other. Okay, well, I hope you guys found this review helpful and enjoyable. Any questions, feel free to PM me or just, of course, leave it down below in the comments section. Aside from that, I will catch you all on the next one, so take care and have a good day.